Hello, my name is Sook-hee. Please, listen to my story. Today was supposed to be a turning point in my life. I retired after 30 years of working at the district office. At the small farewell party my colleagues organized, tears filled my eyes. Tears of relief mixed with the hope that I could finally live peacefully with my son, Min-jun, and daughter-in-law Young. That evening, they took me to a nice restaurant for dinner. Mom, rest easy now. We'll take care of everything. My son's warm words made all my worries seem to vanish. But the peace didn't last long. My daughter-in-law Young runs the most successful bakery in the neighborhood. My son Min-jun is also doing well as an IT company team leader. Both of them are smart, fast-paced, and judge everything by efficiency. The problem was my pace of life. The fact that I couldn't do banking on my smartphone or order food through delivery apps was always a source of frustration for Young. At first, it was just small sighs, but gradually those sighs grew deeper and more frequent. The conflict started with something trivial. Once, I caught a terrible cold and went to the hospital without an appointment, only to wait 2 hours. When I got home exhausted and mentioned this, Young placed her tablet in front of me. Mom, who goes to the hospital without an appointment these days? Use this app I use to book appointments and get a waiting number. I've even made a video tutorial for you. I downloaded the app as she instructed, but the complicated authentication process and endless pop-up ads made it impossible to proceed. Every time I tapped the screen, it went somewhere unexpected, and I had to start all over again in an endless cycle of frustration. When I finally asked Young for help again, she let out a long sigh. Mom, if you have this much trouble using a smartphone, what are we going to do? This makes us worried about leaving you alone. In my daughter-in-law's cold stare, I realized I was being treated like a relic of the past. A useless old woman who couldn't even tap a screen properly. That's how my daughter-in-law saw me. The bigger problem was communicating with my grandchildren. My elementary school-aged grandkids spent every day on tablets doing online learning or playing games. I would sit them on my lap and try telling them old folk tales, or teaching them traditional games like spinning tops. At first, my grandchildren were curious and listened to my stories. But Young would interrupt. Mom, folk tales are just entertainment. They have no educational value. Recent research shows that. And kids these days need to learn robot coding, not spinning tops. Times have changed. With that cutting remark, my grandchildren turned their attention back to their tablet screens. I wanted to share warm affection with my grandchildren, but my daughter-in-law seemed to see me as someone who interferes with their education. The most humiliating moment happened at the bank. I went to deposit part of my retirement money, but the familiar teller windows were gone, replaced by rows of kiosks. Young people swiped through screens effortlessly, processing their transactions, but I stood hesitating in front of the buttons for a long time. I had no idea which button to press or what to select on the next screen. I finally had to get help from a bank employee. That's when I heard a young office worker behind me let out an annoyed sigh. Ugh, can't this go any faster? That quietly muttered comment echoed loudly in my ears. I felt like an inconsiderate old person causing inconvenience to others. When I got home exhausted and told my son Min-jun about it, hoping for some comfort, he sat on the sofa, staring at his laptop and replied half-heartedly, Mom, Young's right. Why are you so resistant to change? You should at least try to learn. It's exhausting for us to worry about you all the time. The irresponsibility and irritation in my son's tone hurt like waves crashing over me. I had given birth to him, raised him, sent him to college, helped him get married, and spent so many sleepless nights for him. And now I had to hear that I was exhausting? I couldn't sleep for days. I'd spent 30 years as an exemplary civil servant and devoted everything to my son. And what did I get after retirement? Being treated like a burden and dismissed as a relic of the past. I pulled out my retirement account bankbook, my last fortress. I believed this money would be my final shield in this house. But that night, I didn't know. I didn't know that my beloved son Min-jun and his wife Young would soon take away even my last shield. I had no idea I was about to face the most cowardly family betrayal. Before you continue watching, please hit that subscribe button and give us a like. It really helps us out. When you're driven out of the most familiar shelter you have, what do you lean on to keep standing? 8 months after retirement, it happened. It was just an ordinary evening. We had dinner, I finished the dishes, and sat on the living room sofa watching TV. Then my daughter-in-law Young approached me carrying her tablet. Until that moment, I still found these devices unfamiliar and uncomfortable. Mom, we need to talk, Young said. Her voice was calmer than usual, but somehow rigid. My heart sank. I instinctively knew it wouldn't be good news. Young showed me the tablet screen. There, in bold letters, was Premium Senior Living Community Move-In Guide. Flashy photos slid across the screen. It featured professional medical staff on every floor, 3 organic meals a day, and even a VR experience room, a top-tier facility. Mom, we've decided to move to a bigger apartment next year, and we're going to sell this apartment. For a moment, I couldn't believe my ears. Sell it? Then where do I go? My voice trembled. This apartment was purchased with the money I'd saved over 30 years as a civil servant, combined with my late husband's retirement fund. To be precise, when Min-jun and his wife took out a loan to buy this apartment, all my cash and a significant portion of my retirement money went into it. Mom, please don't feel hurt. We made this decision thinking of you. Yoon-young continued speaking calmly, as if explaining an insurance policy. We're worried about you living alone, and we were always anxious about emergencies. What if you collapse? We're both working and often not home. It sounded reasonable, but I knew the real intention hidden behind those words. This senior community has amazing facilities. We looked for the best place for you. There are plenty of people your age, and they have various digital education programs. It's perfect for you. Then she coldly started calculating. After we sell this apartment and pay off the loan, combined with the rest of your retirement money and part of your pension, you'll have no problem moving into this place. We'll even help cover part of the initial moving cost. I shot up from my seat. What? This is the house I helped you buy, and now you're kicking me out and telling me to go to a senior home? Mom, who said we're kicking you out? There wasn't a hint of remorse in Yoon-young's voice. This is the best option we're offering because we care about your retirement. Do you know how nice senior communities are these days? Hotel-like facilities with nurses on standby 247. And honestly, we need funds for company investment and my bakery expansion. You know how busy our business is. It's hard to get more loans using this apartment as collateral. So the truth finally came out. It wasn't about worrying about me. It was about needing money. My son Min-jun sat beside her, staring at the floor, saying nothing. I wanted to grab him by the collar. Min-jun, is this really what you think? Is sending your mother to a senior home your idea of filial piety? I cried out, looking straight at my son. Do you know how much I sacrificed to raise you? How hard I worked alone to send you to college after your father died? After a long pause, Min-jun finally spoke. Mom, Yoon-young's not wrong. He said it without even looking up. You should live comfortably now. It'll give us peace of mind to focus on work. And Mom, in today's world, isn't it better for you to connect with people your own age at a senior community rather than being a burden to us? Rather than being a burden. Those words stabbed my heart like a sharp knife. My son's irresponsible, cold answer made my blood run cold. The son I devoted my entire life to had just officially declared me a burden. Fine, I said in a trembling voice. Do whatever you want. I'll leave this house, but don't regret it later. I went to my room and packed. My hands shook as I pulled clothes from the closet and stuffed them into my bag. My son and daughter-in-law seemed surprised that I was actually leaving, looking flustered. Yoon-young came to my room belatedly. Mom, we've already set the moving date. Why are you being so stubborn? Let's just go see the senior community tomorrow together. You'll like it once you see it. I didn't respond. I dragged my suitcase toward the front door and walked out. Thud. The sound of the door closing felt like it was tearing my heart apart. That's when I realized how cold and miserable it feels to be abandoned by the family you love most. To preserve what little pride I had left, I decided to leave that house without taking a single penny from them. When the family that turned their backs on you, do you miss them? How long would you wait for their call? That night, I unpacked at a small inn. I had quietly left the apartment keys on the dining table. Even as I left, my hands trembled so much that I could barely set the keys down on the table. The moment I closed the door of that house for the last time after 30 years, it felt like a chapter of my life was turning. They must have listed the house for sale as soon as I left. When I went back a few days later to organize my belongings, real estate agents and potential buyers were milling around the living room. Yoon-young said cheerfully, without a word of apology, "Oh Mom, you came to pack? Sorry, we've been too busy to help. We left your room as it was, so take your time organizing." The casual way she said it felt even colder. My son Min-jun wouldn't even make eye contact with me. He pretended to be busy showing rooms to potential buyers. Over the next few days, I erased 30 years of my life. Photo albums with memories of my husband, pictures we took together, Min-jun's childhood awards, his 100-day photos, first birthday photos, elementary school entrance ceremony photos, plaques of appreciation and certificates of long service from my years as a civil servant. I carefully placed them all into my suitcase. I was afraid my daughter-in-law would treat my belongings like relics of the past and carelessly throw them away. I touched each item one by one, reliving the memories. While cleaning out my son's room drawer, I found Min-jun's old elementary school diary. The yellow cover was faded and the corners were worn. I opened that diary. I love Mom the most in the world. When I grow up, I'm going to buy her a big house. I won't let mom suffer and I'll buy her lots of delicious food. Reading the crooked handwriting of my 10-year-old son, tears streamed down my face. Where did that pure-hearted boy go? When did my son start seeing me as a burden? I held that diary close to my chest and cried for a long time. I heard the house sale was finalized within a week. It was faster than expected. It seemed my daughter-in-law had lowered the price significantly just to sell it quickly. She must have been that eager to get me out and move to their new place. After receiving the down payment, I was left with less money than I'd anticipated. 250 million won. I wanted to use this money to rent a small place on Gents. But the neighborhood I lived in was so expensive that I couldn't afford even a modest place with that amount. I was also worried about Gents scams. In the end, I had no choice but to look for a small studio apartment in the outskirts with a low deposit and high monthly rent. The night before I completely moved out, I called my son Min-jun one last time. Min-jun, I'm moving out tomorrow. Let's see each other one last time. Let's at least have a meal together. Min-jun hesitated for a while before saying, Mom, I'm sorry. I'm too busy at work tomorrow. I have an important presentation. Good luck with the move. Yoon-young and I will definitely visit you later. Later. That word made my heart even colder. When is later? A month from now? A year from now? Or a later that will never come? That night, I couldn't sleep. My son had betrayed me, but he was still my son. He was my child, filled with both bitter and sweet memories. I wanted to forgive him, but he avoided me. The next day, I headed to the small studio apartment I'd found in the outskirts. Third floor of an old villa, a tiny room barely 30 square meters with one small window. There was no elevator, so I had to carry my heavy luggage up the stairs. After unpacking in that cramped space, all I had left was this tiny room, about 200 million won, and endless loneliness. I thought about it for days, but ultimately decided not to contact Min-jun first. If I called first saying Mom's here, come visit me, I would feel even more miserable. I didn't want to destroy even my last shred of pride. And so, I began to isolate myself from the world. Every day, I clung to my phone, waiting for my son's call. Whenever the phone rang, my heart would race. Could it be Min-jun? But most of the time, it was spam calls. One day, 2 days, a week, a month. The phone never rang with his call. After moving to their new apartment, my son and daughter-in-law seemed to have forgotten about me completely. A warm cup of coffee at rock bottom. Can it change your life? Life in the studio apartment was lonelier and harder than I'd imagined. The cramped room, the bleak view outside the window, the sounds of neighbors' lives through the thin walls. But worst of all was the fact that no one came to see me. After my son Min-jun and daughter-in-law Yoon-young moved to their new apartment, communication was completely cut off. I sent them texts. Min-jun, Mom's doing well. Did you move okay? Is the new place nice? Only marked as read with no reply. A few days later, I sent another one. Min-jun, I miss hearing your voice. Just give me one call. This one was also just marked as read. I spent every day at the park. The fact that I, a former district office employee, was now a homeless elderly woman wandering the park felt miserable. I sat on park benches feeding breadcrumbs to pigeons, spending each day like that. Other grandmothers came with their grandchildren, but I was always alone. My health started deteriorating too. Eating alone haphazardly and lying awake at night with endless thoughts, my diabetes worsened. Feeling dizzy and weak, I went to the hospital, and the doctor said with a serious expression, "Ma'am, your blood sugar levels have risen significantly. Your blood sugar isn't under control because of stress. You need to find peace of mind. Eat regularly and get enough sleep." Peace of mind? How could I find peace when everything in my life had already crumbled? One afternoon, on my way back from the park, I felt severely dizzy. It was a hypoglycemic episode from my diabetes. I had skipped breakfast and barely eaten lunch. I barely managed to keep walking when my vision went dark and I almost collapsed. That's when someone quickly grabbed my arm. "Ma'am, are you okay? You don't look well at all. Are you hurt?" When I opened my eyes, I saw a tall man who looked to be in his late 30s. He wore a clean but well-worn apron. His gentle eyes were striking. "I'm fine. Just a bit dizzy. I'll be better soon." I tried to pull away quickly. I didn't want to be a burden to a stranger. But he supported my arm and said with concern, "Ma'am, it's dangerous for you to go alone right now. My shop is right here, so please rest for a bit. Have a warm cup of tea." He helped me to a nearby old cafe. The sign read Sanctuary. The paint was peeling and the sign was old, but somehow it felt welcoming. Inside the cafe was warm. It smelled of old books, and soft classical music played. The walls were lined with books, and there were old wooden tables and chairs. He carefully helped me into a chair and brought me a warm cup of chrysanthemum tea. Drink slowly. Your blood sugar must have dropped. This will help you feel better. He also brought some small cookies. I'm Park Ji-sung, the owner of this cafe. Sanctuary. I've lived in this neighborhood for a long time. Do you live around here too? Ji-sung spoke kindly. I felt a strange sense of comfort in his warm gaze. It was the warmth of human connection I hadn't felt in so long. After drinking the chrysanthemum tea and eating a few cookies, I felt a bit better. Thank you. You saved me. How much for the tea? As I reached for my wallet, Ji-sung waved his hand. No, ma'am, it's on the house. This place is like a neighborhood sanctuary. It's for people who need a break to rest for a while. Ji-sung seemed to notice I lived alone and cautiously struck up a conversation. Ma'am, aren't you the person I always see at the park? I pass by often and see you. You're always sitting alone on the bench. Is something troubling you? At that kind question, tears came to my eyes without me realizing it. No one had shown interest in me, but this stranger was worried about me. I poured out everything I hadn't been able to tell anyone. The conflict with my daughter-in-law, my son's indifference, losing my home. Ji-sung listened silently to my entire story. He didn't interrupt or judge. He just quietly nodded in empathy. When my story ended, he quietly shared his own. Ma'am, that must have been so hard for you. He naturally called me ma'am. I also have regrets about not being a better son when my mother was unwell. She always told me, live the way you want. Don't worry about mom. But I took those words at face value, so I didn't call often. I used being busy as an excuse. Ji-sung's voice trembled. But after my mother passed away, I realized she wanted me to call and visit often. Don't worry didn't really mean not to worry. It meant I hope you don't feel burdened. By the time I regretted it, it was too late. His eyes reddened. That's why I opened this sanctuary. I wanted to treat the elderly who come here the way I should have treated my mother. It's the only way I can repay even a little of the debt in my heart. I'm grateful I can meet you now. After that day, I visited the sanctuary cafe every day. Ji-sung genuinely called me mom. It felt awkward at first, but that title was what I'd been longing to hear most. My own son avoided calling me mom, but this stranger called me mom and treated me warmly. One day, he saw the books I'd brought and said, Mom, since you worked at the district office, you must be good at organizing books. I have so many books here that need organizing. Would you mind helping me? Of course, I'll pay you. No, Ji-sung, I don't need money. I'm just bored, so having something to do would be nice. But Mom, if you're working, I should definitely pay you. My heart swelled at the feeling of being needed again. At home, I was treated like a burden, abandoned by my son. But here I was needed. There was something I could do. The warmth of that old cafe and Ji-sung's thoughtful care slowly began to thaw my frozen life. Finally, I'd found a real sanctuary to lean on in this lonely world. If you saw your son who abandoned you in a pitiful state, what would you feel? At the sanctuary cafe, I gradually regained my energy. I organized books with Ji-sung, chatted and laughed with the elderly neighbors who visited. The elderly listened to my stories, and I found comfort listening to their life stories too. Seeing that I struggled with digital devices, Ji-sung said, Mom, I'll teach you how to use smartphones in my spare time. It's really convenient these days. You can do banking from home and even video call your grandchildren. While my daughter-in-law called me outdated, Ji-sung was different. Take your time, Mom. Everything is difficult at first. I was confused at first too. Even when I accidentally pressed the wrong button, he didn't get annoyed. It's okay, Mom. We can try again. You're learning so quickly. Look how much you've already learned. That one warm compliment got me moving again. I told Ji-sung about my past. The happy times with my husband, the days I struggled to raise my son Min-jun, and the miserable moment I lost my home due to conflict with my daughter-in-law. Ji-sung treated me like his real mother. Once, when I was struggling with my diabetes, he personally made healthy snacks I could eat and brought them to me. Cookies made with stevia instead of sugar, bread made with whole grains. Mom, you can lean on me now. I'll be your reliable son. At those words, I genuinely shed tears for the first time in a long while. They were tears of happiness. One afternoon, the cafe door opened, and a familiar face walked in. It was my son Min-jun. Mom. Min-jun's face was filled with shock and embarrassment. He probably never imagined I'd be working in a shabby cafe like this. Min-jun staggered toward me. His outfit was different from usual. Instead of the crisp, expensive suit he always wore, he had on wrinkled casual clothes. His face was full of fatigue and worry, and it looked like he hadn't shaved properly either. For a moment, I felt a surge of emotion, but I tried to hide it. I work here. What brings you to this neighborhood? You'd never had business here. Min-jun looked around nervously. At the shabby cafe, at me wearing an apron, looking flustered. No, I just had some business nearby, Minute-jun said defensively. Mom, why are you working in a place like this? What will Yoon-young think when she finds out? You have your reputation to think about. How can you work in a place like this? My son still seemed worried about my daughter-in-law Yoon-young's reputation. He wasn't concerned about my situation at all. I gave Min-jun a cold look. Reputation? Weren't you the one trying to send me to a senior home? If I don't want to be a burden to you too, I have to support myself. What's embarrassing about this? Just then, Ji-sung came out from the back. Mom, who's this? Ji-sung bowed politely to Min-jun. Minute-jun looked at Ji-sung warily with sharp eyes and said curtly, I'm her son. Ah, I see. Ji-sung looked surprised for a moment but soon greeted him politely. Mom's told me a lot about you. Nice to meet you. Minute-jun looked Ji-sung up and down with an uncomfortable expression, then tried to take me away. Mom, let's go. I'll talk to Yoon-young and have you come back home. You can't work in a place like this. Home? I scoffed. Minute-jun, I'm not going back to that house. And if you really cared about me, you'd consider your mother's feelings first, not your wife's opinion. You haven't called or texted me once in 3 months. Minute-jun looked flustered and stammered. Mom, do you know how hard it's been for me? Do you know what Yoon-young says to me? That my work life is difficult because of you, that my colleagues tease me for being a mama's boy. Yoon-young yelled at me, saying, your mom's a burden. And so are you. Minute-jun was still only talking about his own suffering. He didn't think about my pain. I let out a deep sigh. Minute-jun, I won't be a burden to you anymore. You two live your lives. I'll live mine here. Now go. I turned and went back into the cafe. Minute-jun stood outside the door for a while before finally leaving with his head down, without saying a word. His retreating figure looked somehow lonely, but I steeled my heart. Ji-sung carefully approached me. Mom, this must be really hard on you. I shook my head. I'm okay, Ji-sung. I'm used to it now. He's my son, but he feels like a stranger. He feels like someone else. Until that moment, I had no idea about the disaster that was about to befall Min-jun. If your daughter-in-law, driven to the edge, kneels and begs for money, what decision would you make? About a month after Min-jun's visit, I was organizing books at the cafe with Ji-sung as usual when the door burst open. Someone rushed in with heavy breathing. It was my daughter-in-law Yoon-young. She didn't look like the successful bakery owner I knew. Her hair was disheveled, and instead of the designer clothes she always wore, she had on a plain, wrinkled coat. Her eyes were swollen, and her face without makeup showed utter exhaustion. Mom. Yoon-young rushed over and dropped to her knees in front of me. Her hands were cold, and her body trembled slightly. Mom, please save us. Please, you have to save us. Yoon-young burst into tears. She clutched my hand, tears and snot streaming down her face. Startled, I tried to help her up. Yoon-young, what's wrong? Get up. People are watching. Mom, we're ruined. The bakery's closed. Minute-jun got laid off too. Company restructuring. I was shocked, speechless. This was happening to my once thriving son and daughter-in-law. Yoon-young kept crying as she continued. The bakery collapsed due to a failed investment and cash flow problems. We went bankrupt. I got greedy and opened too many branches. Management was poor, and ingredient costs skyrocketed. We're left with nothing but debt. Yoon-young sobbed as she continued her story. When Min-jun got laid off, everything we had was about to be seized. The new apartment we moved to, the car, everything's going to be taken. There's too much loan debt. We have nowhere to go. Is Min-jun okay? I worried about my son first. No matter how much he had abandoned me, he was the child I had given birth to. Minute-jun's drowning himself in alcohol. He comes home drunk every night and yells at me. No matter what I say, he won't listen. He resents me, saying everything fell apart because of me. He's at the edge, just like me. Yoon-young's voice was filled with despair. Mom, I know this is shameless. I know how terribly I treated you, how much I looked down on you. Yoon-young clutched at my pant leg, pleading. I thought of you as a burden and never cared about your feelings. Trying to send you to that senior home was all because of our greed. I'm so sorry. Yoon-young bowed so low her forehead nearly hit the floor. But please, help us just this once. I know you still have money left. The money from selling the house. Please lend it to us for a little while. We can get back on our feet. I'll pay you back double. I'll pay interest too. Please, Mom. I couldn't believe this situation. The successful daughter-in-law who had dismissed me as a relic of the past, who had tried to send me to a senior home, was now on her knees begging me for money. Ji-sung looked at Yoon-young and me with sympathetic eyes. I fell deep in thought. Money? That money was my last asset for retirement. If I lost this money, I'd truly be out on the street. I had to pay monthly rent for my studio, needed money for hospital bills, for living expenses. But I couldn't turn away from my collapsed son and daughter-in-law either. In my heart, betrayal coexisted with maternal love, The instinct to save my son and his wife. They were my family, filled with both bitter and sweet memories. I said firmly to Yoon-young, "Yoon-young, stand up. Don't kneel to me." Yoon-young wiped her tears and stood with trembling legs. She looked at me with hope and fear mixed in her expression. "I don't need your money." At my words, the last glimmer of hope drained from Yoon-young's face. The light in her eyes completely went out. "But give me your sincerity." Yoon-young looked up at me. "For looking down on me, for treating me like a burden, for all the hurt you caused me, apologize sincerely. Not words you say because you want money, but show me genuine repentance. What I want from you isn't money, it's sincerity." I continued slowly. "Yoon-young, you thought I was an incompetent old woman who doesn't even know digital technology, right? You saw me as a relic of the past? But I'm a person too. I have feelings, and when I'm hurt, it hurts. Do you know how those words you said to me, those cold looks you gave me, stabbed my heart like sharp knives?" Yoon-young heard my words and burst into tears again. This time, the tears weren't about money. They were tears of real regret. For a long time, she bowed her head and said in a trembling voice, "Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't treat you like a human being. I just thought of you as an inconvenience, an annoyance. I never once thought about how lonely you must have been, how hurt you must have felt." Yoon-young genuinely repented for her mistakes. "Mom, I was too arrogant. I thought because I was successful, because I made money, because I was young, that I knew everything. But I didn't know the most important thing. People's hearts. The preciousness of family. Your love." At that moment, I found the thread of forgiveness. I took her trembling hand. That hand was cold and rough. The hand that had once been smooth and warm had changed like this. "We need to go to Minjun now. We can't leave your husband like this. Let's go." I took Yoon-young's hand and led her out of the cafe. True forgiveness doesn't depend on the person who caused the wound, but on the heart of the person who received it. Yoon-young and I headed to the monthly rental room where Minjun was hiding. It was a small semi-basement room. As we descended the stairs, a damp smell hit our noses. Yoon-young opened the door with trembling hands. As soon as we opened the door, the stale smell of alcohol and cigarette smoke hit our faces. The room was a mess. Empty soju bottles were scattered everywhere, ashtrays full of cigarette butts, leftover delivery food containers. Minjun lay on the floor in dirty clothes. The moment I saw Minjun, my heart broke. This wasn't the son I'd been proud of. The son who had always been neat and tidy, who had been a successful IT team leader, was now lying on the floor in such a pitiful state. "Minjun, what is this?" I shouted in a trembling voice. Minjun stared blankly at me for a long time. He looked at me with unfocused, drunken eyes. "Mom? Why are you here?" Minjun staggered to his feet, drunk. "Mom, I don't have money." "Did you come to ask me for money?" "I don't have any either. I lost everything. Everything's ruined." My son's words tore my heart apart again. "Minjun, Mom didn't come for money." I approached my son and grabbed his shoulders. "Yoon-young told me everything. Why are you suffering alone like this? Why didn't you call me?" Minjun pushed me away. "It's because of you, Mom. Because of you." Yoon-young looked down on me even more. He shouted, reeking of alcohol. "She said, don't live as outdated as your mother." She mocked me, saying, "You were as incompetent as your mother. You left me with nothing but burdens, and now you want to help." At my son's harsh words, I collapsed to the floor. Yoon-young rushed over and stopped Minjun. "Minjun, stop it. Mom came here to forgive us. Please come to your senses." Right there, Yoon-young told Minjun the whole story about how she'd gone to the cafe and knelt to ask for forgiveness. That Mom wanted sincerity, not money. That she had realized how wrong she had been. Minjun finally seemed to sober up a bit, looking at me with shocked eyes. I sat collapsed on the floor, looking at my son. "Minjun," I said quietly, "Mom must have been lacking in raising you. I didn't create a mother you could lean on when times were hard. I didn't protect a home you could return to when you failed." Mom. Tears streamed down Minjun's eyes. "But Minjun, Mom is still here. I love you and I'm waiting for you. Whether you've failed or succeeded, I'm your mother." Minjun crawled on his knees toward me. "Mom, I was so wrong. I'm the worst son in the world." Minjun started crying like a child. "I left you with Yoon-young and cowardly ran away. How hard it must have been for you. I didn't call you for 3 months. I missed you, but I was scared. I don't know what to say to you." Minjun sobbed as he continued. "I calculated your money and pension, but I didn't calculate your feelings. I'm so pathetic for thinking of you as a burden. I'm the burden. To you, to Yoon-young, to everyone." I stroked my son's head. "It's okay, Minjun. Everything's okay. My voice trembled too. Mom's already forgiven you. Just having you come back to me is enough. What Mom wanted wasn't your success. I just wanted you to treat me like your mother. I embraced Minjun and Yoon-young. It was the moment the long-severed family bond reconnected. All three of us cried. We held each other tightly and cried for a long time. I decided to give them the courage to stand up again. Minjun, Yoon-young. I held both their hands. I'll give you half of the money I have left. Not to restart a business, but as seed money for a place to live and for Minjun to make a comeback. I'll keep the other half for my retirement. If you can get back on your feet with this, I'm okay with losing this money. Yoon-young shook her head through tears. Mom, no, that money is for your retirement. How can we take it? Take it, I said firmly. This is my choice. I'm doing this because I want to. I'm not giving it to you. I'm doing it for myself. I want to see you get back on your feet. That's more important to me than money. Minjun prostrated himself at my feet, crying. Mom, I'll never forget this kindness. I'll repay you. I'll never think of you as a burden again. I'll succeed and make you comfortable. Don't think like that. I stroked my son's head. Making me comfortable isn't what's important. Thinking of me as your mother is what matters. Just call sometimes, eat together sometimes, listen to Mom's stories. That's enough. I told them about my relationship with Ji-sung. Mom's not alone anymore. I met a good son named Ji-sung at the Sanctuary Café. He takes good care of me. So you two live your lives. Don't feel burdened. Yoon-young said. Mom, we'll visit you every weekend. We'll come to your cafe to help out and eat together. We'll be a real family now. I nodded. Forgiveness between family wasn't about forgetting the wounds. It was about acknowledging that we had hurt each other and choosing to walk together again despite it all. What is the real family built on love and forgiveness that transcends blood? 6 months later, much had changed. Minjun and his wife rented a small 2-room apartment and started fresh. Minjun completely quit drinking and got rehired at a small startup company, leveraging his IT experience. The salary was less than before, but Minjun worked diligently. Instead of a large bakery, Yoon-young started a small home baking class. She taught local residents how to make bread. Word of mouth spread and the number of students gradually increased. It lacked the glamour of before, but Yoon-young's face showed real happiness. They visited me every week. When Saturday afternoon came, the door to the Sanctuary Cafe would open without fail, and Minjun and Yoon-young would walk in. Yoon-young brought in Jimmy rice cakes, my favorite. Mom, I finally understand your heart now, Yoon-young said sincerely. You didn't need our success, you needed our warm hearts. I realized it too late. Minjun held my hand tightly. Mom, I'll definitely repay the money I borrowed. Little by little, I'll pay it back. It was your last fortress, and I stopped my son's words. It's okay, Minjun. You've gotten back on your feet, and that's all that matters. What's more important than money is that you're happy. That's the best repayment to me. The biggest change came to the Sanctuary Cafe. Ji-sung formally proposed co-managing the cafe with me. Mom, let's grow our cafe together. I want to remodel it so more people can come. I want to make it a place that shares your stories and wisdom. I gladly accepted the proposal. The cafe was reborn as Sook-hee's Healing Book Cafe. The first floor was decorated as a warm book cafe. Comfortable sofas, warm lighting, and the aroma of coffee filling the space. The second floor was made into a digital education and storytelling space for seniors. Ji-sung taught me not only how to use smartphones and tablets but also basic computer skills. Mom, now you can video call your grandchildren on your smartphone. I completely escaped digital exclusion. I could video call my grandchildren, send them photos, and freely text them. Every Saturday at 4 p.m., I became the story grandma for neighborhood seniors and children. I told old folk tales and shared wisdom from my life experiences. Children put down their tablets and listened to my stories. The elderly nodded in sympathy. I, who had been treated as a relic of the past by my daughter-in-law, was now beloved as the grandma of wisdom. People in the neighborhood called me Grandma Sook-hee and respected me. When we met on the street, they greeted me first, and they would stop by the cafe to drink tea and ask for advice about their concerns. Ji-sung became like a real son to me. Mom, I made your favorite Joan today. Let's have dinner together. Ji-sung, if you do this, I feel too sorry. Mom, I'm happier having you here. Really, I became like a mother to him, and he became a son I could depend on. After a long time, our family of 4 gathered at the cafe for dinner. Ji-sung, me, Minjun, and Yoon-young. Ji-sung showed off his cooking skills and prepared a delicious dinner. Yoon-young brought bread she had baked herself, and Minjun brought fruit. Mom, just a moment. Ji-sung came with wine. Today's a special day, so let's make a toast. Ji-sung raised his glass to the birth of a new family, reunited through mutual forgiveness. Minjun and Yoon-young also raised their glasses. Thank you, Mom, for forgiving us. And thank you, Brother Ji-sung, for protecting Mom. I'm the grateful one for letting me meet such a wonderful family. Ji-sung smiled brightly. Seeing their sincere eyes, I realized something. Family isn't just about blood. My son and daughter-in-law who abandoned me but came back. The young man named Ji-sung who gave me a new life. Those who had hurt and been hurt but were reconnected through forgiveness and love, they were my real family. I smiled, looking at the warm sunlight streaming through the window. In my late 60s, when I thought I'd lost everything, my life wasn't ending, it was a new beginning. I was no longer a relic of the past. I was loved, respected, and knew how to share love. A warm grandma. Mom, what are you thinking about? Ji-sung asked. Oh, just thinking about how happy I am, I replied. Life is so mysterious. When I thought I'd lost everything, I actually found what was truly important. Not money, not a house, just sincerity. Minute June said, Mom, I understand now too. What success is, what happiness is. Being by your side is my greatest success. Yoon Young added, Mom, I can't turn back the time I lost, but from now on, I'll really do well. Like a real daughter. Warm sunlight filled the cafe. Outside the window, children were playing, people were walking on the streets, and the world was still spinning fast. But inside this small cafe, time flowed slowly. Our family's story had just begun. Family bound by blood, family bound by heart, family bound again by forgiveness. We would lean on each other and live warmly. I was living the happiest moment of my life. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and hit that like button, and leave us a word of encouragement in the comments. Share your story with us too. I hope all of our lives are filled with warm stories.